Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Mr. Joe's Baseball Show. I'm Mr. Joe, and I'm here bringing you another tier list for Mario Superstar Baseball, the game that everyone knows and may or may not love. So, this tier list is going to be a little different because I kind of have two set up here, but I'm going to explain that right now and kind of as I go what the reasoning for that is. So, this tier list, if you didn't read already, is the fielding tier list. It is strictly based off fielding utility in the game, and any ties I kind of decided by other factors, but for the most part, this is what I think the fielding tier list looks like. So on the left side here, I have the characters put into the tiers that I think they are best fitted in and where they perform the best. And then I separated the tiers in order of how important I think they are in the game. So middle infield I think is the most important, and left field I think is the least important. You can see the asterisk there. I will get to that in a moment. And on the right side, I think this is just like a general fielding tier list. Like, these are the best fielders, you know, your high tiers, mid tiers. The last two tiers are kind of like, they're fine. The last tier is like, these are bad fielders. But this tier is more like, okay, these are okay characters. So let's just get into this. Don't want to waste any more time here. Starting off with left field, I think Koopa and Drybones are kind of below average anywhere, but they're okay wherever you put them. They're not bad fielders necessarily, but Koopa you're never going to see because he's just a bad character in general. Drybones is a good hitter, so you'll see him more often. Stick him in left field because I believe left field is the least important fielding position, unless, as you can see up here, unless you have Yoshi. Yoshi in left field is incredible. His tongue ability plus his speed kind of allows him to make a lot of plays that no other character can make, and it saves a lot of hits. So he will really steal hits away from a lot of batters that would drop in on every other character. So that's why I believe Yoshi gets the exception, and Yoshi being in left field is one of the strongest things you can have in the game. That's why I have this separate tier up here. I couldn't put Yoshi twice, but that's what this is for. So anyway, left field, I think it's the least important. Noki is a decent replacement for Yoshi. She's pretty fast. She has sliding catch, so she's a long dive. But she could also actually go in center field. It's I just put her here because we see her in left a lot, and she does an okay job of kind of mimicking Yoshi. It's not great. Toadette would probably do a better job, but again, that's why Noki's here. Next up is center field. The asterisk is the same exact thing. Yoshi in center field is probably the best center fielder. I'm not even probably, he just is. But he is better suited in two other positions, so I didn't even bother mentioning that. As far as the center fielders I have listed here, Toad, he's fast. He's got a decent arm. He's an okay center fielder. He doesn't really have a better position, so that's kind of why I put him here. I do think he's the worst of the characters that you'd want in center, but he's there. Dixie Kong, again, she's kind of in the same case of Toad, where you don't really have a place for her, but she has a better arm than him. I think she's the same speed, maybe a little faster even. So she gets an inch above. Toadsworth is a weird case. So he is on paper a slower character. He's got 4 speed, while these characters I believe have 6. Diddy has 7. But he has glue hands, so he doesn't bobble, which is always nice. It's a nice reassurance. And also he's very large. Toadsworth and Toadette are large characters. They have very tall hitboxes, and they cover a lot of space. And it does seem like he kind of has like a weird edge where he gets to things a little faster. I don't know if that's like a hidden stat or something like that. We don't really know. But I do think that is something to consider. I do think Toadsworth plays a pretty good center field. And then Diddy Kong, far and away best center fielder. He, I mean, he has glue hands. He's very fast. He has a long dive. He has clamber, which isn't really relevant, but it's there. So he's a very good center fielder. He has a pretty good arm. He can throw to DK at second because DK is a good shortstop, so he covers second a lot. So I do think Diddy Kong is the best center fielder besides Yoshi. Catcher is a position that not many characters fill. You could put Bowser there, but I think he's better suited at first, as you can see. Bro doesn't really have a position in the field, so you kind of put him in catcher to hide him because he's a very good batter. But in the field, he's not great. And Petey is by far the best catcher in the game. I think Petey has a place at first base, but at catcher is really where he's suited because he's the only character with a 100 strength arm, so he's the only character who will more consistently throw stealers out at second. So I think that's why it's important to have PD at catcher if you have him. But again, there are cases where you'd want him at first base. I'll explain that when I get to it. And if I haven't mentioned it already, this doesn't include pitching. That's going to be another list altogether. So, first base. Monty Mole is another character. I don't think he really has a place in the field. He's not really a character you'd see picked anyway, so it doesn't really matter. But Monty has ball dash, similarly to Goomba, who's also right above him. And having ball dash allows... I actually think Goomba's a little better than Shy Guy. Ball dash allows you to win basically any pickle you're in when you're trying to catch someone stealing or trying to go for a pick-off, things like that. So that's why he's good at first, because that's the most common spot, first to second. And Goomba, for the same reason, he also has ball dash, but he's a little higher for a reason I'll get to after Shy Guy. Shy Guy is really only here for one reason. It's because he has chemistry with Birdo, and it makes Birdo a much stronger fielder, and Birdo is, as you can see, a very strong fielder. She's at the top of both of these lists. So I think that alone gives him some grounds here at the first base position, because Birdo going from short to first gets a lot better, which is the same reason I think Petey is a good first baseman, because he has chemistry with Birdo, Donkey Kong, and King Boo, who are some of the best fielders in the game and the best fielders in their position pretty much. So having Petey on first, Birdo on second, DK on short, and King Boo at third gives you chemistry to first base on everybody, which will it'll get you a lot of outs that you normally would not get. So I do think Petey has an argument for being a strong first baseman. But back to these guys. Goomba, same reasons as Monty for ball dash, doesn't really have a place to be in the field. He's better though because he has a very high jump. He's a very, very high jumping character. He kind of mimics like a super jumper almost, but he doesn't have the ability, so he's a little shorter, but he does jump very high. Boo, he has chemistry with King Boo, which is big because third to first is good chemistry. And he also has super jump, so he catches a lot of balls that will go over the first base line normally. He catches a lot of foul balls that would otherwise just be a foul. So he definitely has utility there. You're not going to see him here very often unless he was your pitcher and he got tired, but it is a place that he plays well. And then Waluigi and Bowser I think are fairly interchangeable. The only reason I have Bowser higher is because he has a better chem tree. They both have laser, which is a very strong ability in the infield because it lets you save a lot of runs at home. And Waluigi has high jump, or super jump, which is very, very good. He has a similar deal to Boo, where he steals a lot of balls that are hit down the line. However, I have Bowser a little higher because he's bigger, so I find that he gets a lot of stuff to his left and right that maybe Waluigi doesn't get. And also, he has a stronger laser than Waluigi, and a better chem tree, especially if you have like Bowser Jr. in right field, something like that. His chemistry is generally better. If you have Bro at catcher, having chemistry going from first to home is very strong. So that's why I think Bowser is the best first baseman personally, but I do think you can make an argument for Waluigi, definitely 100%. Going into right fielders, you do have a lot of right fielders, and one thing you may notice about this is that they all share one ability, and that ability is wall jump. I think wall jump is a crucial ability to have in right field. There's literally no reason to play right fielder that doesn't have it at the point that, like the level of play that you should be playing at. You should be able to wall jump consistently. It should be relevant because you can rob home runs, which is obviously a strong ability. Why wouldn't you want that? So I'm going to go to why I place each of these characters where they are. Baby Mario I think is the worst because he is slower than Baby Luigi. He is a tiny, tiny character, so he'll miss a lot of stuff in that regard. And being a speed character, him, Baby Luigi, and Toadette are all speed characters. They have a higher chance of bobbling. So given that he's very small and has a better chance of bobbling and is slower than Baby Luigi, those are all just reasons that I think he's the worst of the right fielders. Baby Luigi, same attributes as Baby Mario as far as bobbling and being small and all that stuff. However, he does have 8 speed, the only 8 speed character in the game, while Baby Mario has 7. So that does give him, I think, the edge because he'll get to a couple more things. Next up, Bowser Jr. He normally would be worse than the babies, but he is a little bigger, and he, I believe, has a better dive, plus he has chemistry with Bowser. So having chemistry with Bowser, and he actually has chemistry with Magic Koopa as well, who, as you can see, is at the top of the third base tier list, but also would be at the top, or near the top of the first base one. So going from right field to first base, maybe you can steal like an out on a slow runner. So that's the only reason he kind of gets the edge here. Also, I think he's just a better character overall. So, I mean, he is just a better character overall. So that kind of gives him a little bit of juice. in that regards. Next up is Mario. Mario and Luigi are very close together here, I think. Mario has sliding catch, but I believe Luigi's dive is pretty much the same length. I tried to confirm that with some of our modding team, and that is the answer that I got. So the reason that Luigi edges out Mario is that he is a little faster, plus he has high jump, or super jump rather, so he does, I guess, technically have the option to use that instead of wall jump, but wall jump's just better. His wall jump doesn't go any higher, even though the animation looks like it does. They have the same height as far as we know. So really, just Luigi gets the edge for having a slightly higher speed. But these two are very close. And now the character that I believe is the best right fielder in the game, Toadette. There's no doubt in my mind about this. She has 9 speed, which is the fastest speed, tied with Yoshi. She has wall jump, which is fantastic. I mean, it's the reason she's in right field. And she is the only non-captain character in the game to have 2 abilities, and her second ability being sliding catch, which kind of implies that she has a further dive than other characters. So combined with her fast speed and her wall jump, she really covers a ton of ground and gets a lot of outs that other characters just will not get to. So that's why I think Toadette's the best right fielder. If you have her, she's going to be in right field. There's nowhere else you would really want to put her, unless I guess you also have one of these characters. You could put her in center. She covers a lot of ground. That's her deal. Her only downside is that she has a high bobble stat, like the babies. So that's a little annoying. And she also has a weak arm. So those are 2 things to look out for with Toadette, but I really think it does not put her below any other characters in this regard. Going into third base, I think the princesses, this is kind of just the best place to put them because they have quick throw, because it kind of lets you get like a cutoff pseudo laser where you don't have the windup to worry about, but you don't have the fast throw. So that's really why I think they're good at third base. They're a little tall, but they're also really skinny, so they don't get a lot of things. And I don't like these characters that much, so I don't think you should necessarily be playing them, but if you are, this is generally where you would see them if you're not pitching with them, which is a whole other story. Next up is Paragoomba. This character sucks, but he does play a decent third base. He has high super jump, and he has a strong arm, so he can make throws at first. He gets a lot of things with super jump, and that's the exact reason that Parachupa is here. He also has super jump, he also has a strong arm. Those are really his best attributes. He just has a better chemistry tree than Paragoomba, and he's a better character overall, so he gets the edge here. Next up, King Boo and Magic Koopa. They're pretty close as well, but Magic Koopa definitely edges it out, in my opinion. King Boo has super jump and a strong arm, which allows him to... he gets some things that Magic Koopa wouldn't get as far as height goes. However, he does tend to kind of get glitched on third base more, and you don't get given the third baseman when you should. But his strong arm and chemistry with PD that you can go, and Boo, which you can go first to third with, or third to first rather, is definitely very relevant, and I think it's something to look out for. But I think Magic Koopa's a little better because he has Magical Catch, giving him a ranged dive, essentially. It's much better than King Boo's. Madge is very tall, so while his jump doesn't go very high, he'll kind of cover a big area when you jump, and his wand goes very high while he still stays low to the ground. Sometimes I find myself jumping over things with King Boo when you try to like jump on instinct, or a reaction rather, while as Magic Koopa, you'll kind of cover the whole area, so I do think that gives him the edge. His weaker arm can sometimes be a detriment, especially when people are trying to like sack bunt, things like that. But I think he does have the edge over King Boo. And then next I have Yoshi in left field because I think that's really important. I touched on that earlier. Yoshi being left, again, he steals so many things. I'm not really going to get into that. Again, at least. The middle infield, I think this is the most important position in the field. It'll make or break a team. Sometimes games will happen where your middle infield doesn't matter at all and it feels bad, but more often than not, this will be very important. So Wario, while he is a very strong second baseman, I think he's the worst of the middle infielders because he lacks laser, and his range is not quite that of the characters that also lack laser, being Birdo and Yoshi. So that's why I have him at the bottom here, but I honestly think all of these characters play a very good middle infield, and you're not really suffering without any of them, as long as you have one laser character. Pianta, Pink Menace, whatever you want to call him, he lacks the range that Wario and other characters have, but he makes up for it in size and a very crucial ability to have in your infield known as laser, giving you a stronger throw to home when there's a play at the plate. It's so incredibly valuable to have laser. So it really just is the way to go. You want laser in your infield. That's why PM is here. That's why he's one of the best fielders in the game, in my opinion. So yeah, 100% makes it worth his slightly lower range. And he has a very strong arm in general, so he makes a lot of plays. Next up is Birdo. Birdo is a decent arm, but her strength really lies in her suction ability. Her suction has an incredible range. It lets her get to things that are just unreasonably far away from her on the field. So she really steals a lot of star hits, a lot of just kind of normal line drive hits that you'd see. A big thing with Birdo is that if you have a star hitter up, or if you have, like, say, Bowser Jr., Bullet Ball, things like that, she will just rob so many of those hits that it's almost better off. You're almost better off just not star hitting, which is really strange. So, yeah, definitely a very good character in the infield. Good character overall. Donkey Kong and Yoshi, I think, share a similar space. I think Yoshi does get the edge a little bit, so I'll go with DK first. DK has a very long dive range. He has a very large body, so he can just jump and kind of catch a ton of things. And he has that oh-so-crucial ability in Laser. He has a similar utility to PM, but with the range of Wario and the arm of PM, he's got Laser. He really does everything you'd need in the infield. He does bobble a little bit. Power hitters bobble more often than not. But really, he makes up for it in the amount of plays that he makes with his strong arm, his laser, his long dive. This guy is great. He does it all in the field. He's really good. And finally, get Yoshi. Yoshi having a very quick speed, so he can get a burst well, alongside his Tong ability, which is, I think it's a little shorter than Birdo Suck, but he kind of like carries his momentum with him when he's running, so that really gives him like another edge over it. He will steal star hits like it's no one's business. He'll steal line drive hits like it's no one's business. Nothing gets by this guy. It's ridiculous. He's insanely good. The only thing he's lacking is laser, and his arm's a little below average, but that would just make him too good if he had laser, obviously. But Yoshi, just with tongue, with 9 speed, he is a premier second baseman. Nothing gets by this guy. He makes plays that you cannot believe, and even balls hit straight up the middle. Sometimes he'll just catch them. It's honestly unfair. So I do think Yoshi is the best fielder in the game, and we're going to take a look at the list on the right here. This is like a general feel for how I think fielders go. I think Yoshi, DK, and Birdo do take the best spots. Toadette is only pulled down by her bobble rate. I think she bobbles too often to be a top tier. But again, these are your best fielders. Anyone in these top 2, I think you're not at a detriment in fielding. Some of these characters have bad bats, so they're not necessarily like best characters in the game. And characters like here, I say average Joes, but I really mean like these are good fielders. These are the characters that I think are a little below average in fielding, and these are the ones that I think are bad. But this is just kind of to give you a representation of how things look on an overall scale. Yoshi's definitely the best here. I know I kind of like wasn't sure here. He's 100% the best fielder here. He can play every position, essentially. He plays every outfield position, center and left field. He plays middle infield like a beast. He's so good. So yeah, Yoshi, definitely the best fielder in the game. But honestly, if you take a look at this, this is my general opinions of characters fielding. You can see here, these are characters that I don't think are good fielders, and this doesn't take pitching into account, but they're not bad. You can kind of hide them in the less important positions, like center or left field, things like that. So they're not terrible. And yeah, these are just bad fielders. These are just bad characters besides Bro. So Bro, you kind of just hide him at catcher, so that's usually okay with that. But again, this is more of just for you guys to visualize. Let me know if you want to see other tier lists. I'm probably going to make one for pitching and one for batting as well. And then after that, I mean, I don't really know what else I would do, but I definitely want to look into some other things. If you enjoyed this tier list, drop a like, subscribe if you want to see more. I'm going to keep making the videos, so if you want to get my little notification in your sub box, please drop a sub. That'd be really cool. And yeah, I'll get you guys next time with another tier list. I hope you like this one. Drop a like. I'll see you next time.